Alright, legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. Now, we're getting into a little film that I have had on my playlist on YouTube for a long time now. This is Fall from 2022, and the concept of this movie can catch you out in a major way. It sounds like it's going to be the most boring film on the face of the planet whenever you see what the concept of it is. These two girls climb this TV tower and get trapped at the top of it. That's essentially what the movie is about. But give it a chance. I'm going to spoil it in this review, so if you don't want it spoiled, go check it out. I enjoyed it a heck of a lot more than I thought I was going to, so definitely, if you don't want a spoiler for this one, don't watch any more of this. That's the last thing you're expecting somebody making videos and podcasts to do, is to tell you, stop listening, stop watching, go watch the movie. But if you're not worried about at spoilers, watch and listen away. Basically at the beginning of the film, there's this husband and wife, Becky, and her husband Dan. They're climbing this mountain, and there's another friend there, another female friend of Becky's called Hunter, and they're on the side of this cliff face, and Becky's husband loses his grip, and in an attempt to try and swing back onto the rock face, he gets Becky to release they're connected with this rope, and he's like, disconnect yourself from me. She has her own safety line there, of course, but the connection rope will give him a little bit more rope to swing back to the face. So she releases this rope, and he swings on, doesn't get his grip, and falls to his death. So we cut from there to essentially a year later. She's not doing well, and she's in the throes of depression. She's drinking herself into an early grave, basically, and her father is doing his hardest to try and help her and talk to her, but she's cut him off, and essentially everybody she's cut off at this point, including the friend Hunter. They're not in contact at this point. We do find out later throughout the movie that even though Becky closed herself off to her father, her family, her friends, Hunter also ran away after the experience. But she tells her father he's trying to help her, and he's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Absolutely fantastic. He doesn't have much screen time in this movie, but what he does get, he uses it well, and it is very good. I do have to say that the two main actresses in this here, Grace Caroline Curry and Virginia Gardner, are absolutely phenomenal in this movie. Becky is, this is coming up in a year later, and she is using her mobile phone to call her dead husband's phone, just so she can hear the phone message there that he has for his answering service, and she's using this to, in her own mind, kind of talk to him, even though he's long gone. He's been cremated, his ashes are in the house. So she's just stuck in this loop of self-destruction, basically. So after falling out with her father and then trying his phone again, it's finally got to the stage where the phone company has cut off that service. Obviously, like I had the thought just before it actually happens in the movie, would a phone still be connected this length of time after the death of the owner? But that's answered very swiftly. Whenever she tries to call it again, it's cut off. At this point, she loses the will to go on, and she actually attempts to take a load of pills and end it all. But at this point, Hunter turns up in her life again, her best friend, and she challenges her to, the only way you're going to beat fear is to kick fear's ass and her idea is that they're going to climb to the top of this TV tower, because they grew up thrill seekers. Of course, we've seen at the start of the film, all three of them were in the mountain until Dan was killed. So at this point, Hunter seems to be in full control of her life. They head off to this tower, spend the night at a diner beforehand, well, hotel diner in the middle of the desert, and the next day they start to climb to the top of this thing. This all happens within the first 25-30 minutes of the movie. They eventually get to the top of this tower. Let me just see, what is the size of this tower? I think I do have it here somewhere. It's like 2,000 feet or something ridiculous like that. It's flipping huge. Right, it's they're going to climb this tower, 2,000 feet, and it's the top of the tower is like another 200 feet or whatever. The last 200 feet is outside of the caged section of it, and there's the majority of the climb is like 2 Eiffel Towers in height. It's boxed in to a cage, and at the very top it's just this spire. It's completely open to the elements, and then there's this little platform up at the very top of it. So they managed to actually get to the top of it, and they've Becky's starting to beat her fears at this point, and then they scatter the ashes of Dan up there, and she finally manages to let him go. But as they're starting to climb down again, they're just getting off this little platform at the top of the tower and you seen it when they were climbing up, the nuts and bolts are falling out of the rusted ladder on the side of it, and then this whole ladder actually breaks off. But halfway down the spire, before the cage section, there's these 2 transmitters. The whole ladder breaks from around that. There's this little platform at the top. It's a drop down to these 2 antennas essentially on the side of it. Then there's another section of the open air part of it. So they're screwed at this point. They're stuck at the top of this thing. There's no ladder. They can't get down. So they're trying to work out a way of getting off this thing. The downside is the backpack they have with their water on it and their drone. This girl Hunter has set herself up as like a Instagram and YouTube vlogger, like who would do that sort of thing. And so she's set up for the thrill seeking, and she's into making videos and getting the likes and all that sort of stuff. So she's got the drone, all the gear with her in this bag, all the water that they need to keep themselves hydrated while they're up here. But when that ladder broke, the bag fell, and it's out of their reach on top of these transmitters. So they're trapped miles from anybody. Hunter, she's confident that the emergency services will be them. These ladders fell to the bottom of this thing, made a lot of noise. Emergency services should be on their way, but this never happens. So they try to use their phones to contact people, but they're out of signal range as well. It's just everything that they try to do is met with, there's something here is going to stop you from doing what you want to do at this point. So they come up with the idea to, because Hunter has got all these Instagram followers, they're going to set up a post to go live asking for help. And even though they're out of range, if they can pad the phone enough, they can drop it off the tower, so whenever it does get signal, it'll bounce the post on Instagram or whatever. Then the fans will see it and maybe alert someone. So they stick it inside one of their shoes. Hunter takes off her shoe, pads it with her socks or bra, you name it, gets the phone ready to send this message, drops it off, and this doesn't work. The phone's in a million pieces at the bottom of the tower. There's also a few people pop up throughout this movie that could potentially help them. There's a guy out walking his dog, and they're chucking. Becky takes off both horseshoes and throws them down to this guy and his dog to see if they can get his attention. Doesn't work. He walks off. There's these two people which they thought was an abandoned RV in the middle of the desert. They're out, and at the top of the tower, they actually, there's a little survival box of binoculars and a flare gun in there. So they managed to get the attention of these two guys in the RV, shoot off the flare. These guys are coming, think, yay, we're saved. But they find Hunter's car at the gate to this tower, and they decide to steal it and clear off. So they are pretty much in major trouble at this point. And at one point, it's just as night time's about to fall, Becky notices a tattoo on Hunter's ankle. It has the numbers 143 on it, and this is the moment where the real drama between these two people start. It's because her husband Dan, when he was alive, could never say the three words "I love you," so instead of saying that, he would always say 143. Becky never worked out what it was until this here, and Hunter admits to her that she had a 4-month affair with Dan. Dan had drunkenly initiated, and they continued it up to shortly before the wedding. And Becky at one point, she has her mobile phone with her, and she's actually watching the video that was taken at her wedding, and she can see Hunter standing in the background, and she's kind of heartbroken looking, and it's Hunter's so apologetic and whatnot. She's like, I'm so sorry. And Becky's like, why? Because you get caught or whatever. And she's like, no, because I fell for the same man as you did. The next day, as penance for the affair, essentially, Hunter tries to climb down to get the backpack before they dive first. Even though there's no ladder there's still just the tip of what's left of the ladder below the platform. And she reckons the rope they have is just about long enough to get down to these transmitter dishes. So she uses that to get down, manages to get on there, and uses her selfie stick to connect the bag onto the end of the rope, and then jumps out, grabs it, and she's pulled up to safety. Now, there's something that would have happened there. Spoilers, major spoilers, but I'm not going to go into too big a spoiler in this one. But when you're watching the movie and you're in that moment where she's got the selfie stick and she's got the bag connected to the end of that, and she uses the little hook on the end of it to hook onto the rope, I had a passing idea of what was going to happen at this point. It didn't happen at that point, but later on in the movie I found out that it actually did happen at that point. I know that probably doesn't make much sense, but watching the film makes perfect sense. Yes, so Becky they try to use the drone at this point to send it back to the hotel they came from before the climb, and they get a note set up and jam it between the drone body and the battery pack, send it off. But the drone has got very little charge left. It's just about to die. They have to recall it. As I say, everything they try to do to get out of the situation just goes from bad to worse. So they manage to get the drone back to the tower. There's a flashing light at the top of the tower, and they manage to use it to charge up the battery of the drone. And the whole time there's these, what would you call them? These birds trying to, like, they found these two, I'm going to say eagles, but I'm pretty sure it's a different name from vultures, I want to say. We'll go with vultures. They seen a couple of vultures picking at the corpse of an animal before they started the climb, and then of course throughout the film, as they're getting closer to actually starving to death or whatever, these guys are circling, waiting to pick them off. One of them actually does take a go at Becky. She climbs to the very tip of the tower at one point to use the connection to charge the drone, the light bulb connection. Earlier in the movie, Hunter actually used this trick to charge Becky's phone in the diner, and she's like, this is a little life hack that you can use to, you can plug it out. I wouldn't recommend you doing it. I don't think it works, but for the purposes of this film, it does work. So she's up at the top of this tower, she jams the thing on to charge the drone, but she can't make the connection. That's just the light bulb hole where you screw it on that is just a little too deep for the charging prongs for this drone. So she actually uses her wedding ring to charge the drone. It makes the connection, it conducts the electricity needed to do it. So while she's charging this thing, strangely Dan manages to save her life by the end of the movie because she uses his wedding ring. But yeah, she managed to get this drone charged up while this vulture's taking a go at her. At this point, Hunter is down below her. She's encouraging her to keep going. She's trying to talk her through everything. They manage to, after getting the drone charged up, sent off again towards this hotel. And just as it's about to get there, like literally it's just straight across the road from this hotel, it crashes into the side of a truck. Truck driver gets out and looks at this broken drone. He just shrugs his shoulders and gets back and drives away. As I say, everything they do goes from bad to worse. Can't get out of it. And finally, last ditch effort, Hunter is and it comes up to twist time here at the end of the movie. And yes, again, as I said, there's something I thought was going to happen earlier in the movie, which didn't happen, which later on you find out does happen. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with it right there. But they do revisit that idea of padding a shoe, dropping it to the base of the tower while sending out a message. This time she sends a message to her father, successfully received, and he comes with the rescue services and rescues his daughter. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the end of it. They make up and they head off home together. Becky has gotten herself back on track by the end of the movie and reunited with her dad, and all's well that ends well. Ends well as it good, ends well as it can for a movie like this. It is a great little movie, a little survival thriller. Definitely so much better than I thought it was going to be. As I say, this has probably been sitting on my watch list since it was released. Sitting and watching out for stuff on Netflix, and you kind of think to yourself, okay, that could be interesting. You stick it on their watch list and you maybe never go back near it again. My watch list is about 10 miles long at this point with stuff I haven't seen, so it's just flicking through tonight. Seen it on there, and I'm like, okay, a few hours before bedtime, I'll give this a little go here, see what I think of it. And that's really damn good. Let me see, it was released August 12th, 2022 in the United States. Runs for 107 minutes. It had a budget of $3 million, and at the box office is given here, it made 21.8 million, so it was definitely a success of a movie for that budget. Great movie. Would highly recommend it. So if you're here at the end of this, I have spoiled the majority of this movie for you, but I haven't given you the good bits of the movie. There's a little twist in every movie in some way, shape or form, and this one's no different. But whenever it does happen, it's done incredibly well, and the emotional kick in the teeth that it gave me actually surprised me tonight, because I was not, again, really invested in seeing this movie when I started it. Whenever they got to that little moment where you really figure out what's going on here, it hit me hard enough that I actually teared up slightly. Very good. That's all I need from a movie. Either something that'll keep me interested, that'll keep me off the internet. If a movie can keep me from scroll my news feed and something, that's good. If it can make me laugh, that's good. There's no laughs in this movie, but if something can hit me on an emotional note, absolutely fantastic. That's what I got with this movie here. Get me off the internet, hit that emotional bone, fantastic. So definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I don't think it's going to be a waste of your time whatsoever.